Hello there, Algebra students. This is Mr. Kashi speaking. I'm going to go through our video notes here for our Chapter 3, Section 1 notes on solving two-step equations. The first example is already typed out for you, and I'm sure a lot of you have done problems like this or solved equations like this. The technique that we use is using what they call inverse operations. We've gotten a lot of practice on that in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Basically, opposite of addition is subtraction, and opposite of multiplication is division, so you're going to be using those throughout these two-step equations. So a lot of this is review, but usually what we teach is we draw a line underneath the equal sign, just like that, and whatever we do on one side of the equal sign we do on the other. So the opposite of subtracting 4 would be adding 4. So we add that on both sides. I like to draw a line to kind of break things up, and those that negative 4 and positive 4 would cancel, and we're left with 3x equals, and 5 plus 4 would be 9. And then here, the opposite of multiplying, that's 3 times x. Opposite of multiplying is dividing, so we're going to divide 3 on both sides, and 9 divided by 3 would be 3 as well. A lot of students think that we're done at this step, but really what you can do is you can verify your answer. So we're going to take that 3 and we're going to plug it in right there. And so we have 3 times 3 minus 4 equals 5. 3 times 3 is 9 minus 4. And sure enough, 9 minus 4 is 5. So we get 5 on both sides, which means that we have done this correctly. If those notes are a little too fast, just go ahead and rewind to a spot that you can make sure that you get those notes down. But we are going to move on to our next slide. So in this example, we have 13 equals y divided by 3 plus 5, which this seems a little bit different with this y divided by 3, but we're going to start out the same by drawing our line underneath the equal sign. And I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides to start off. 13 minus 5, that would give us an 8. And then we have y divided by 3. And then here, the opposite of dividing by 3 would be multiplying by 3. So I'm going to multiply by 3 on both sides. Okay. When we multiply by 3, this is technically multiplying by 3 over 1. And so these two 3's would cancel, and we're just left with y, which is what we needed to solve for. And 3 times 8 is 24. And then once again, I'd verify, plug that in. Sometimes for these problems, it's a little bit easier just to write it in right there. So 24 divided by 3 would be 8, and 8 plus 5 would be 13, which is what we get on the other side here, the other side of the equal sign. So verifying is obviously an important step, especially if you're taking an exam or doing a quiz. You want to make sure that that works out. If that was a little too fast, so once again, you can rewind. Obviously, make sure these notes are completed so you have them to work with on the exam. But next slide here, we have another example. We have 8 equals c divided by 24 plus 4. Once again, this is very close to the last one that we did. Draw our line, subtract 4 on both sides, and we get 4 equals c over 24. Then the opposite of dividing by 24 would be multiplying by 24. Remember, that's kind of a 24 over 1, so those cancel. We just get c. And then we have to multiply 24 on this side. Well, 4 times 20 would be 80, and 4 times 4 would be 16. 80 plus 16 would be 96. Okay. And this one you're definitely going to want to make sure you plug in right here. 96. So 24 goes into 96. If you need to use your calculator, that'd probably be an appropriate spot to do that. 24 goes into 96 4 times, and then we add the 4 there to get 8, which is the same thing on the other side. So this problem down at the bottom, of the slide is a challenge for you. What I would like you to do is I would like you to pause the video right now and see if you can do this one on your own. Alright, hopefully you had a chance to do that one on your own. And here we're going to walk through it, just the different steps here. The first one isn't real. The first step isn't a whole lot different. We're going to add 7 on both sides. Draw the line. We have 41 plus 7, which is 48. And here we have 2/5 x. And this 2/5 looks a little scary because we have a fraction, but really the easiest way to do this is just to multiply by a fraction that is its reciprocal. And so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply it by 5 halves, like that. We're going to multiply 5 halves on both sides. So on the right hand side, when we multiply by 5 halves, the 5's cancel and the 2's cancel, and so we get x alone. And then on the other side, we have 5 halves times 48, and that would be something that you'd want to plug into a calculator. Whether you use that 5 halves or you could use 2.5 times 48, and that should be worked out to be 120. That would be your solution for that. And then you're definitely going to need a calculator to verify this. Plugging in that 120 to make sure that we're going to get 41 on both sides. And the next thing, I want you to take the next probably 5 minutes or so, 5 to 10 minutes, and I want you to work on these practice problems. Some of them deal with distributing that we learned last chapter. Others deal with combining like terms, but we want you to solve for x for all 4 of those problems, and hopefully by the end of those 4 practice problems will be time to rotate stations. If you have not, if there's time left after that, you may move on to the IXL assignment for station 3.